Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. Not looking forward to doing this show today. North Texas is rocked as a Cowboy player has committed suicide. And, I mean, this just happened mere hours ago. And when you're going through the pieces here, of course, we're all focused on this story because this happens to a Cowboy, a Dallas Cowboys. They're demigods around here. I'm not exaggerating here. They hold actually a special place in our society. And, you know, even though we don't get to know all of them, in fact, we don't get to know most of them. Most of them are only here for 2 to 3, maybe 4 years at a time. And so it's kind of a transient position. But this is something that has touched all of us. These mental health issues. You know someone who's committed suicide. You know someone who just out of the blue, you never even thought they were upset. They seem like a happy, pleasant person. They end up killing themselves. And you feel bad about it. I know it. I've been there. You have a guy that you work with. He doesn't show up on Sunday to do the show live. You find out the next day he committed suicide. There's a note. And you tell yourself, man, Brian seemed like one of the happier guys I knew. I never heard him complain about anything. He even did extra things around the station. It was like, hey, can you go to the convention center and do a remote on Sunday? I know it's a last minute thing. He'd be like, sure, no problem. He never griped about his wife. He never griped about his job. He never griped about the crappy cars that we all drive because we work in radio and we're poor. And then you find out from the note that this guy had been living in his own little private hell and just not telling anyone. Now, I'm not going through that. I mean, you got to trust me on that. But how many people are going through that? How oblivious are you and I that we talk to these people who are just days away from ending it? They are at the end of their rope, and we don't even know it. And so when that happens to you, probably the same thing that happens to me. We're not sociopaths. Now we have to carry around guilt. Guilt for not noticing. I did not know my friend Brian was in the last few days of his life. I did not know that he was so unhappy with his circumstances and his situation. I feel bad. And so now there's a whole bunch of people who are going through this. The guys that knew him personally, the coaches, the players, the friends, the entourage, the family, the cousins, the girlfriend. They're going to be carrying around this guilt for a long time. And what this really centers around, this has nothing to do with football now. Now we're talking about mental health. So who hasn't been affected by mental health episodes? You know, we don't have a problem talking about this and bringing it up first thing when it comes to the next mass shooting or something that helps someone politically speaking. But in this scenario, I think that's what the underlying issue is here. Mental health. Because we all have to be a little humble here. Turn off your pride. Just, I don't mean turn it down. I mean turn it all the way off. Just click the button that says off. Because we have to admit, we have no idea what's going on in the heads of people around us. We have to admit, because you're probably like me. We have a guy here who is living a dream life. We have a guy here who is living a dream that pretty much every little boy growing up in Texas fantasizes about. From when you first discover football until about the time you get into high school and you're not even that good on varsity and you're third string receiver, so you quit so you can spend more time in theater because you change clothes with girls instead of guys. You know, I'm just hypothetically speaking out there. That's not anything personal. But you've had this happen to you. I've had this happen to me. And now this is happening to the people around us. Like, what do we do? Do we ask people more? Do you just generally be more supportive? Do I need to go around asking all my friends, hey, you're not suicidal, are you? You need any help? You know, Dak had a recent suicide that he's been dealing with in his personal life. That was his brother, wasn't it? And so the pictures were being passed around already this morning, how Dak and the taping on his wrist takes a Sharpie and writes, ask for help. And that's the message for people out there. If you're struggling with mental health and you're thinking about doing something like Marshawn Nealon did, don't just carry this burden on your own. Ask for help. But I'm asking for humility here because clearly I do not understand severe mental health problems. I do not understand how a guy can score a touchdown with a star on his helmet in the Cowboys Stadium on Monday Night Football. And he's a defensive player. Most of them never get to touch the football, much less score a touchdown. It seems like you're at the pinnacle of human existence, and 48 hours later, you're ending it. I don't understand. And so in order to battle this, I think we all have to admit, we don't understand what's going on in the minds of people like this, but we need to start doing a better job. Because just like so many of these other problems these other tragedies could have been prevented, like a drunk driving crash or, a school shooting. I mean, these seem to be pretty preventable. Or do I even sound even more naive saying that? The coverage on this was just awful too. I mean, we all kind of went through it together. We heard this morning that a Cowboys player died. We didn't know why. We didn't know how. We didn't know if he was murdered. We didn't know if it was a car wreck. We didn't know if he had some sort of cardiac event from the vaccine or whatever. But WFAA, I'll walk through it in sound bites for you. This is the report we all got this morning.
Good morning. We are cutting into our Plus programming with some breaking news this Thursday. The Dallas Cowboys have announced the death of second-year defensive edge player Marshawn Kneeland this morning. The 24-year-old is out of Western Michigan. He played at WMU for the Broncos, a second-round pick in 2024. Certainly a big splash earlier this week. Fans of the Cowboys saw him score his first professional touchdown on the heels of a blocked punt on Monday Night Football against the Cardinals. Now, we do not have many details yet on his death. We can report that Plano police were called to his home for a welfare check overnight. They say they did not make contact and then closed the case. But again, our team is working feverishly to find out some more information, and we'll share that for you as soon as we have it.
And then we're in a terrible limbo there, not knowing how he died, what he died from. Then when we finally got the report, didn't make you feel any better, did it?
I want to cut in real quickly here. I mentioned before that we were waiting on a statement from officials today. We did just get this in courtesy of DPS, the North Texas region. I want to read this for our viewers. I'm going to read this in its entirety. It says on November 5th of 2025 at 10:33 last night, DPS troopers attempted to stop a vehicle for a traffic violation on the northbound lanes of the Dallas North Tollway near Keller Springs Boulevard. The driver refused to stop, resulting in a pursuit with DPS troopers. They lost sight of the vehicle. That pursuit was terminated. That vehicle later located abandoned. It had been involved in a crash on the southbound lanes of Dallas Parkway near Warren Parkway. DPS aircraft and troopers, along with the Frisco Police Department, searched the immediate area. They found the driver, 24-year-old Marshawn Kneeland, deceased from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
All right, so then that was the end of the morning show on WFAA. In their midday show, we got the final update with some of the more grisly details on how he lost the Cowboys player late last night, early this morning.
Welcome back to Midday as we follow breaking news, the death of Cowboys defensive end Marshawn Kneeland. DPS tells WFAA that troopers tried to make a traffic stop last night when Kneeland refused, leading them on a chase. The vehicle was later found abandoned after a crash. Law enforcement says they found Kneeland nearby, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Let's listen to the part of the dispatch call we just got into the newsroom.
They just received a text from him, a group text saying goodbye. They're concerned for his welfare.
The Cowboys released a statement confirming Kneeland's death. It said Marshawn was a beloved teammate and member of our organization. Our thoughts and prayers regarding Marshawn are with his girlfriend Catalina and his family.
We'll continue the grieving process. The Cowboys Nation lost a player. You'll hear the more of the police scanner audio coming up next on the James Show. And if you want to call in, give me some tips. How do we deal with depression? How do we help people like this? How do we even notice that people like this are days away from ending it? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, Texas homeowners, James Parker here for Rhino Shield. And if it's time to paint your house, or even if you're not even looking at painting your house, what if you just want to spruce it up and make it look a little newer? What if you want to coat your bricks and make them a new color so you don't look like every other cookie cutter house in the subdivision? Rhino Shield can take care of that. In fact, it doesn't matter what your house is made out of or what the building's made out of. It could be aluminum, it could be stucco, it could be brick, it could be wood, doesn't matter. Rhino Shield has you covered. It's a ceramic coating and it's a two-part process. The primer goes on underneath. It gives you the R factor. It breathes, expands, and contracts. With the winter and the summer changes. It's 8 to 10 times thicker than paint, but it still looks smooth. It gives you a nice surface texture, water resistant, blocks UV sun rays, and has that nanoparticle ceramic coating like they have on the space shuttle. But here's the best part. You're not going to come back in 10 years and see a bunch of cracking and flaking and peeling. You're not going to see the color fade quickly. And if you have any doubts about its longevity, don't worry. You get a 25-year transferable warranty. If you're worried about the cost, well, we got you covered there. You can get 20% off now through the holidays if you mention the James Show, and financing is available. So if you're wondering how you're going to pay for paint, well, how about you just finance Rhino Shield and pay $150, $160 a month, somewhere around there. So there's no excuse. Go ahead and give them a call. Have Gary come out to look at your house, give you an estimate, show you how the technology works, and then you can make the decision to go forward there. But be careful. You're going to like what they show you. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Well, it's a terrible day on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. James, you don't say that often. Well, when was the last time a cowboy committed suicide? Ever? Yeah, it caught me all off guard. And if you haven't heard about it yet, Marshawn Nealon, this is his second year on the team, just scored a touchdown on Monday night. Leaves us. It's a mental health issue. We all think from the early reports it was a suicide. He had the wherewithal to text the family group chat goodbye. Apparently, he'd been dealing with this for a while. Catches me off guard. I feel naive at times like this. What do we do about that? 800-288-9227. This is Bill in Springtown. You're on WBAP.
Well, thank you for taking my call. With my wife's help, I overcame depression. I'm a Vietnam vet. I've seen things and done things I wanted to forget. And for several years, I did forget those. But something triggered me about 12 years ago, and I went into such a deep depression. Everything, it was the darkest place I've ever been.
How would you explain it to someone who hasn't experienced that? I have a friend who swears he has depression, and of course it hasn't gone this far. But he's like, you don't understand. I'm just unhappy for like 2 weeks at a time, no matter what.
No, that's not my situation, and I don't know how to explain it. It's just you feel helpless. You feel like there's nothing that you can do. But my wife went on the website and found a treatment called transcranial membrane stimulation, TMS. And at that point in my life, I was going to try anything, because the reason why I didn't pull the trigger one night is that I couldn't imagine leaving my wife behind. And that's when I said, look, I know I'm emotional, but actually I'm happiest I've ever been. I would just encourage people, when your loved ones are going to come to you. But for me, TMS was good after 2 weeks. My wife said she saw such a traumatic change. And then from there, I just built on that and realized that, how blessed I was. See, when you're in depression, you don't see any blessings. You're trapped. It's dark. You get in your bedroom, you turn the lights off. You barely eat.
You see how that sounds weird to someone who hasn't experienced depression, though? How could this guy feel like he's in a dark place or he's trapped? He's on top of the world. Any of us would trade places with Marshawn Nealon. And he was so unhappy. He was on the brink of ending it all.
Well, I don't know his situation. I can only talk about mine.
Well, what would you have told him if you had talked to him 24 hours ago? He's still with us. What would you say, Bill, in Springtown?
If he would have listened to me, I would have said, go get transcranial membrane stimulation treatment and give your life 2 weeks. That's what I've told him.
Transcranial. I'm typing this in. Transcranial membrane what?
Stimulation.
Okay. We have some friends like Brain Performance Institute or something we'll be talking to soon. I'll be sure to ask doctors about that. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm not familiar with it, but it sounds like something I need to Google. Thank you for sharing your story, Bill, in Springtown.
God bless.
All right. What is this tough? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I still owe you the audio from the police scanners overnight, and you'll hear the official statements from the team, from the family, from the Frisco police, from the Texas DPS. We'll get through all this, but North Texas is rocked by the suicide of a Dallas Cowboy, Marshawn Nealon. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, it's a terrible day in Cowboy land. Marshawn Nealon, one of our defensive tackles, committed suicide super early this morning, about 1:30. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And we're not talking about football today. We're not talking about the Dallas Cowboys today. We're talking about mental health. Because this is something where it happens to something that's someone that's high profile. We're all talking about it. But I know on an individual level, you probably have one of these stories too. I do. Someone that committed suicide who's in your close orbit. Could be a family member, could be a parent, could be a child, could be a sibling. For me, it was a coworker. Actually, I've had a few people commit suicide. The closest one, though, was a coworker. A guy I had just seen about 48 hours before he did it. Worked with him 48 hours before he did it. In fact, he just so happened to do it the week after I sat in on their show. They had a weekend show, and it's heartbreaking stuff. And I feel a little lost. I feel a little naive. I have a big brain that loves to just dive into complex topics and understand it. And I can for most of the things that we talk about, the founding fathers' intent in the Constitution, differential calculus. Oh, my brain can understand a lot, but not this. Not how a guy with his whole life in front of him, he's on the Cowboys. He's going to be a millionaire if he's not a millionaire already. He's at the highest status possible. He's in fantastic health. He's in pretty good shape. Probably has a beautiful girlfriend, has all the reason in the world to be optimistic and happy. And he was so miserable, he took his own life. We'll get to the phones after I'm going to play the Frisco police scanner. And this is heavily edited. There's giant gaps of silence. There's 28 cops going, copy that, copy that, copy that on everything. And there's some people saying, can you repeat that? All right, if you take all that out, this is how it went down in about a 2-minute span, about 1:30 this morning.
Talking to the girlfriend, she's trying to call his agent, so we're trying to get him to call him first, but she's saying he is armed and has a history of mental illness, and her quote was, he will end it all.
Good copy. You probably run back to the car to get the gun.
If she calls him, we'll let you know.
All right, y'all do me a favor. Everybody stay with a buddy. Don't go looking alone. This guy is armed.
President, they just received a text from him, a group text from him saying goodbye. They're concerned for his welfare. They do not have a key to the apartment.
I advise on this call. We were just out there. There's nobody at the apartment. All contact from my phone.
We have a lieutenant calling in from Plano advising that the NFL is calling Plano PD and the subject is texting his family goodbye.
GPS 111, there's a porta potty on the south side of that building.
40, we got eyes on it. That's pretty much right exactly where 118 drew the circle. Y'all see a heat from that?
Yeah, 111, we got good eyes on. Looks like the door's open. Red liquid coming out from it. We just want to go ahead and work this safely before we have any officers approach. So let's just get an arrest team and kind of go through this safely and tactically. I believe we got eyes on a drone right there. Still got eyes on the target inside that porta potty.
We're pushing the drone there now.
Okay, good copy. Just on our last orbit, we didn't see any movement. Still got that heat signature. Looks like it's curled up at the bottom of that porta potty, with the stream of blood coming from the porta potty.
Yeah, that's a 10-4. He's going to be laying on his side, facing inward, and quite a bit of blood coming out.
My God, that's sad. 800-288-9227. What do you add to that? Hey, the NFL is calling the Frisco Police Department. The family's telling him, he's texting them goodbye. My God, what were you doing about 1:30 this morning? I was cuddled up with Miss Parker in bed with a dog bothering my feet. Let's go to Gwen in Gun Barrel City. You're on WBAP.
Hello. Now, this is from a female's point of view. I agree with the previous caller about the dark place. It is very dark, and you're alone, and you feel helpless. Hopeless. More than anything, I felt hopeless. I would go through the steps of, I was married, I had children, I had a job. I would go through all the steps of my daily living, but I didn't really care about anything. And I would be taking a shower and I'd be thinking about blowing my brains out. I never did it, but I wanted to, and it got to the point I would actually run away. I would get in my car and just leave and drive forever and ever. And then I'd call my husband and he would come and get me. He didn't know what to do. I didn't know. I never heard of it, depression. Well, I had a doctor visit, and thank the Lord, I had a doctor that listened to me. I didn't say I'm depressed. She asked questions, and then I would just start crying. And out came the bean. I just spilled it all. And that's the first time I was ever medicated for depression. And it helped me so much.
Are you better now?
Oh, yes.
What
And
did
I
it for
still
you?
The education.
Just learning about depression fixed your depression? Was the medication like the...
I am still on medication. I'll be on it for the rest of my life. I will not come off of it. And the doctor told me it is a chemical imbalance in my brain, and it runs in families. And I have other family members that are depressed.
I hear you.
And put on medication.
This all sounds so weird to a person who, I guess I don't have a chemical imbalance, because how could you feel hopeless? How could you feel like you're in a dark place? How could you feel alone when you just scored a touchdown and you're looking around and there's 80,000 people cheering for you? You know, so this is serious stuff, Gwen. Listen to Gwen. Gwen got help. She got better. The guy before, he tried a different, transcranial membranal whatever I typed in. Get some help. Don't do this alone. Don't end up like Marshawn Nealon. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk to Donovan Lewis from The Ticket, and I'll be taking some more phone calls as they come in. I've got a lot of good people on hold here, but if you'd like to share your story, your any message of help so other people who are going through this can have a better outcome, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. As our friends on the ticket would say, this is a whip. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, bringing you terrible news. The Cowboys Nation is absolutely rocked as one of their players commits suicide super early this morning, late last night, however you want to frame it. And we're just trying to pick through the pieces here because this is looks like a mental health episode. And how naive are all of us? We just saw him on Monday Night Football score a touchdown off of a block punt. You assume the guy's on top of the world. You assume he's probably in a better mood than I am. And he was about, 48, 50 hours from ending it? Make that make sense. Joining me now is half of the most dangerous midday show in radio, Donovan Lewis from the Invasion on the Ticket. Welcome, Donovan Lewis. Only tepid applause today. It's kind of a bummer. But thanks for joining us. Terrible day. Well, I'm interested to learn more about his mental health history because, if there's a long, detailed history going back into, childhood, that's one thing. If it's something more recent, then you kind of put a big question mark over, does this have to do with, concussions and CTE and, the physical abuse that an average defensive tackle's head takes? So I think that's going to be a pretty important piece of information to know is his mental health history, Donovan. We're talking with Donovan Lewis from Sports Radio 1310 and 96.7 The Ticket about we lost a Dallas Cowboy overnight to suicide, Marshawn Kneeland. So do you know anything more in depth about what the mental health protocols in the NFL look like? That's so, he's going to be carrying guilt. That is just brutal. All right. Well, thank you very much, Donovan Lewis from the Invasion on the ticket. I appreciate your assist on this one, sir. All right. Thank you very much, Donovan Lewis. Got time for one call? No? All right. Well, I'll be taking a whole bunch of calls coming up next as we're just trying to pick through the pieces here. We lost a Dallas Cowboy player overnight to suicide, and depression is the hot topic on the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. It's a tough day on the James Show. News Talk 820 FM WBAP. A Cowboys player has committed suicide. North Texas is reeling because one of our heroes, a Dallas Cowboy. How powerful is depression that it can knock off a Dallas Cowboy? How serious are these mental health issues? Because this is why we have so much interest in the stories, because I don't understand it. You don't understand it. I mean, some people out there who've been through depression are understanding it right now, but you got to understand, most of us don't understand this at all. You know, there's a case to be made for the 84-year-old guy who doesn't have any friends and doesn't have any money, and he has stage 4 cancer, and he's going to die anyway, and everyone hates him, and he, I don't know, lives like Gargamel and the Smurfs, just him and a cat, and that guy committed suicide. Kind of understandable. This guy, 24 years old, playing for the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL and doing well. He's going to be a millionaire. He's in great health. He has an Adonis of a body. How can that guy not have any hope for the future? You haven't even fallen in love. You haven't even gotten married. You haven't even seen the birth of your first kid. You haven't danced at your kid's wedding. You haven't seen your What are you doing? What do you mean there's no hope? This is a deep, dark place. And so some people are calling in trying to explain it to me, and they're doing a pretty good job. I'll give them that. 800-288-9227. Let's talk about this. Catherine, Colleyville, you're on WBAP.
Yes, thank you. You're exactly right when you said people don't understand it. People are lost and naive. And why? Because we have a mental health crisis in the United States today, and there's not enough education and training. People don't know what they're dealing with. I'm a mental health professional with a private practice, and I see people every day, and I have worked in psych hospitals, and people do not recognize the symptoms. But you can just turn on the TV or listen to the news any day, and you can see what's going on out there. People are out of control. They're creating chaos. There's assaults, destroying property, suicides, drug addiction, shootings. It's everywhere and right in front of people's faces. And we don't have anything that give us the proper education as to what we're dealing with. I deal with my clients, and they have depression, and many of them have family members who have symptoms of depression, and they don't know what in the world they're dealing with. They're trying very hard to fix it, and what they don't realize is they didn't cause it, and they can't fix it. They can't change it. It needs medication. It needs education. It needs therapy. It needs individual therapy and family therapy for people to get together and understand and really help the person that's struggling, because the family members and friends and people that see these symptoms don't know what it is. They don't know how to help them. And honestly, very often they make it worse.
All right, real quick, Catherine, you said you're a mental health professional. Bill in Springtown, an earlier caller, had mentioned transcranial membrane stimulation. What is that? Is that something that works too? Because you just mentioned drugs and therapy.
Right. Well, this is something I don't really have a lot of understanding about. I haven't looked at the research on it, and I don't use it because you have to be trained and certified in that, I'm sure. But I do know that what I have dealt with, I've been in practice over 20 years, and I do know that people need support. People need emotional support and comfort. They need to know they have somebody that's walking through this with them. That's the number one. I realized when I was working in a trauma unit in a psych hospital, the number one criteria for recovery was, do you have an intact support system? And yes, all those things are good, I'm sure. But without an intact support system, people who understand what you're going through and have the tools and the skills to be able to support you and help you work through these episodes, that's very important.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing some of your expertise with us, Catherine. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Let's go to Christina. Christina in Dallas, you're on WBAP.
Hi. Yes, I wanted to. I don't suffer from depression, but I do have a family member that suffers, and then I also my mom's ex-boyfriend. He committed suicide, and he was like you would have never thought. He was a San Antonio sheriff, but they show they show like silent signs. So as like the family members, you have to give them a safe space. Like, because a lot of, especially men, they're prideful. And
Explain that to me.
a
What do you
lot
mean
of
by
them,
we got to give them a safe space, Christina?
like make them feel comfortable. Like, don't, like, if you know they're going, like if they, you know, they have mental health issues, like give them a safe space where they feel comfortable enough to come talk to you about it. Like, because sometimes family can be the most crucial. Like, be like, oh, ain't nothing wrong with you. You just need,
No,
and
I
then
know
we
what you're talking
just,
about because that's us
yeah,
projecting. You know, I'll be fine. You don't
yeah,
have to give me a safe space. I don't
yeah,
need therapy. You just
exactly. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like, but we don't know because they mask it so well. Like, because we can even take, remember the actor Robin Williams?
That's a
He
great
was on top
example.
as well.
Yeah, he
He was
seemed
on
like a
top
pretty
as
happy guy.
well.
Well, look, you seem to
Yeah.
be carrying around a little bit of guilt from your mom's boyfriend's suicide in the same way.
Yeah, because well, I don't carry the guilt. It's just what she told me because she was like when she seen him because they used to work at the because she was a nurse at the correctional facility that they worked at,
Okay.
and she was so busy with school and stuff like that. And she said she would see John, and he asked, and but she was like, "Oh, I'm busy this, but," and she just kept putting him off and putting him off. And then, so finally, when she had got that call from like his sister asking, had she seen him? And she didn't. And then when they found him, it was just like, oh my God. And then when she did go like to see him, and she was looking at pictures from like the previous month, she was saying you can see like he had lost so much weight. You could just see, even though he was functioning, you could just see the depression, like.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for
Yeah.
sharing your
So.
story and thanks for the focus on men because depending on what study you look at, men make
Yeah.
up to like 75 to 80% of all the suicides. So we're kind of falling short somewhere in that. So the safe space advice from Christina in Dallas. What you got? 800-288-9227. I'll continue taking calls with some great advice on how we can identify and help people in our orbit with depression. And next, John Ingham from the WBAP Weekend Crew is going to discuss the death of a Dallas Cowboy. We lost one to suicide last night. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, terrible day in North Texas. A Dallas Cowboy has been lost to suicide overnight. And if you think most of these stories are hard to comprehend, how can you feel depressed? How can you feel hopeless? How can you feel like there's no way out when you're what seems to be on top of the world? And really, this is one of the greatest examples I can find of how little I actually understand about what it's like to be clinically depressed, what these people are going through, what's going on in their head. I truly don't understand it. And I think that's the first step to helping people like this is to admit you don't understand it. Admit it. I can admit it. And a lot of people are calling in and sharing their stories that hopefully someone's getting some help out of this, because this just seems so completely preventable, so unnecessary. But as we learn more about this, the diagnosis is going to be real important here, because if it is flat out mental health issues that he's had his entire life, that's one thing. If this is mental health issues that seem to be aggravated or inflamed by concussions and, other CTE related issues that the NFL's been dealing with for years anyway, well, that changes the story quite a bit. My next guest to shed some light on that, John Ingham. He's the host of the WBAP Weekend Morning Show and on our Cowboys media team here. Welcome back. Terrible situation for having you on, John Ingham. But welcome to the show. What do we know about his history here with mental illness? Has much been revealed yet, or are we ever going to know that? Agreed. All right. Good stuff, John Ingham. I appreciate your time on the James Show. Wish it was under better circumstances, but we'll have you back on soon. Thank you, sir. Sad day. Ramon, Red Oak, you're on WBAP.
Yeah. If Dijon was suffering from CTE, then he's going to have such headaches that if you remember the Patriot defensive back, I think he was, Rodriguez, that was put in prison for murder.
Aaron Hernandez, he was a tight end. Yeah, and he did murder somebody.
Well, from what I found out, he killed himself because of the CTE. I live through it right now with TBI, CTE, and PTSD. And with all that combined, just mounts on to the fact it creates depression, and then it's compounded when you have family members that just say, oh, it's all in your mind, and they know that you went to a specialist, and then on top of that, the VA says, oh, because you don't have the paperwork from being in theater, it never happened. And I got to pay out of pocket to try and get treated. And the NFL could actually maybe get this fixed if they go to the University of Boston and the VA of Boston and get them to go ahead and stop waiting on a patent for a dye that they know will work to find CTE. Maybe we could fix things for the players and us soldiers that are killing ourselves.
Well, I believe the NFL wants to get ahead of this because, they had a reason to suppress it, but now that it's been exposed and everyone's onto them, the faster they can solve this, the better. So I think the NFL's incentives are actually pretty well aligned with the good intent, although that's just a coincidence at this point. And I was interested to see how involved the NFL was in this process because I played the police audio and they were saying, well, the NFL called Frisco Police Department and the family told them that he had said goodbye in a group chat, hinting that he was going to commit suicide. And so I just, was putting this all together. So the family is getting a text from their cousin, brother, son who is about to commit suicide, and they don't call the Frisco Police Department. They don't call the Plano Police Department or the Texas Department of Public Safety. They called the NFL. So the NFL sounds like they're hyper involved and almost have custody of the players. I'm not sure there's a whole lot more they could do.
I wish DOD would be more hyper, incentivized for.
Hey, and as for that, Ramon, I'm glad you brought that up. Listen, my dad had issues similar to that. He had some complications from his service, and there are veterans help groups out there, nonprofits that will help you do your paperwork. They went through and they refiled all my dad's paperwork, and he got help from the VA, and he gets now like a small disability check. And for some reason, just getting someone else from one of these nonprofits to redo your paperwork can get you good results. So try that, okay, Ramon?
I've tried. And
you've tried that. All right. Well, I just want to throw that out there if you hadn't dug into one of those avenues of help. All right. More on the loss of a Cowboys player to suicide and now the ensuing discussion on depression coming up on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. North Texas is rocked as a Dallas Cowboy committed suicide overnight. And this has a lot of us baffled. Are you baffled like me? Yeah, I mean, how can someone be depressed when they're at the pinnacle of what seems to be the existence of human beings here in Texas? You're a Dallas Cowboy. You're doing well. You're 24. You have your whole life in front of you. You still haven't fallen in love and gotten married and had kids. You haven't even experienced life yet. And you're already on top. And so if this is just straight up mental health issues, that comes with a whole set of diagnosis and then medicine. If this is mental health issues that were exacerbated by repeated concussions and CTE issues, well, that's going to be really hard for the NFL to ignore. They're going to have to do something about that. But we're just trying to figure out where to go forward from here. We're just trying to figure out how this even happened in the first place. And we all have to recognize that if you're not going through depression, I don't understand what's going through their head. And most of us have been touched by this. Is there someone in your orbit right now who's going through this? Is there someone in your orbit? Is there someone that you're working with in your office right now, in your school right now, that is going through this, that is 48 hours away from doing the same thing? How come we don't all notice this? How can they hide it so well? How can we help these people? 800-288-9227. That's the question of the day. How do we help these people? Rachel in Irving, you're on WBAP.
Hi, Jake.
Hey, Rachel. Rachel, you with me?
Hello?
Yeah, there you go. All right, you unhooked from the car. Go ahead.
Okay. I have dealt with depression my whole life, basically since middle school, and I'm 40 now. 5 great kids, wonderful husband. Hit my rock bottom about 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yep.
So this is like a late onset depression.
Well, I had depression. I struggled with depression. I've been on and off medication basically my whole life. But through a series of different things, I couldn't. Every day I woke up, I hated waking up. I would hear about people dying in car accidents, and I was angry that it wasn't me. I just wanted my husband to drop me off in downtown Dallas somewhere and leave me, and just leave me. There were the ways that I thought about committing suicide, but 2 things kind of stopped me. Hearing my children on the phone begging me to come home when I wasn't supposed to have the keys, and I was just, like the other caller said, she would just drive. I was a threat to myself that I wanted to crash my car. And my daughter on the phone crying, saying, "Mommy, just come home." And then my fear was that, if I step out in the middle of the highway and a 8-wheeler or 18-wheeler hits me, what if I don't die? And I'm a vegetable. And then I just made my life worse. So my fear of suicide was that I wouldn't be successful at it. And then my husband telling me that if you do this, one of the kids are going to do it. They're going to follow your lead. And I thought, I can't do that to my kids. I was handcuffed in the back of a police car twice, 3 psych wards last year. Finally, I went to an inpatient facility in Florida and got some really good help, medications. I do therapy, psychiatry. And I can say that when I start feeling myself slipping back, I reach out, because that was a living hell. And people who don't have depression, you cannot understand it. Your life can look so perfect from the outside, and you put a smile on your face, you take your kids to their ballet recitals, and you show up, but you're dying inside. And it's you can't leave your head.
Would you say you're cured now, or is this a chronic condition you're always going to have to battle?
I'm not cured. I'm on medication now. I see a therapist, a psychiatrist, and I'm not cured, but my life, I don't wake up hating waking up. And I don't have a plan today. I love my life right now. And we started weaning off some medication, and I said, nope, I can tell I'm sliding backwards. And we went back on it, did more therapy. Like, I know people who have committed suicide, and it's awful, awful, awful. But it also feels so cruel to the people around you who want you to keep living, because to me, it was like they don't understand the amount of pain that I'm in, and they just want me to keep living in pain. And that's not fair either.
Yeah, so I don't get that. You're just living in pain. Like, he's living in pain. He's living a great life. Where's this pain coming from?
It's in the mind. It's in the mind. You can't escape your mind.
Look, I know this sounds stupid to you, Rachel, but if it's in your mind, can't you control it? You can't just turn it off?
No, absolutely not.
Because I found,
And
like, if I sit still and I control my own thoughts, I can put myself in a good mood. I can put myself in a bad mood. I can put myself in an angry mood. I can put myself in a sad mood just by concentrating on what are you going to roll through your head, Parker?
No. You can try to. You can't control it. That's
No,
the problem.
I understand, but I can, and I think most of us can, and so that's where the disconnect comes from, is because like Miss Parker isn't completely depressed, but she has some sort of anxiety that I don't understand either. Because like when she solves a problem that she's worried about, she just looks for the next thing to worry about. I'm like, do you ever not worry? Do you ever just like let go and be like, whoop-de-doo, this is going to be great. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm having for lunch. I don't know where my next meal is coming from, but I'm awake. The sun's shining. It's a beautiful day. I'm still alive. I'm still breathing air, so things can't be too bad. And so, yeah, that's
like sometimes. Yeah, it's just like what you see sometimes on those depression medication commercials where the black cloud is kind of over the person. That's exactly what it feels like, and it follows you around. And you put on the smiling face and you fake it, but sometimes you get tired
all right
of faking it and trying. But there's always help. I got help when I thought there was no way to get out of that. And I had a wonderful priest help us. I had the Irving Police Department help us. Like, I hated sitting in those cars or, in handcuffs, but it was for my better good. And I'm happy.
Okay, a couple
Thanks be to
things.
God. I'm here
Rachel,
today.
number one, thank you for sharing your story. That sounds like it was really tough to tell. Number two, I want to apologize on behalf of all the happy-go-lucky, non-depressed people who are just skipping by their day, not noticing what other people are going through. And number three, I hope someone else gets some help from what you just said. Thank you very much. That's Rachel.
I hope so too.
Rachel and Irving, thank you. Coming up next, we're going to talk to George Wrightster. He's a former NFL player and a member on the NFL Behavioral Health Committee. I'd like to see what he has to say next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, we're still reeling from the suicide of a Dallas Cowboy overnight. It's the James Show on News Talk 829.33 FM WBAP, your home for Mark Lee Van Camp and Robbins. Good show, and I don't have to tell you to like it. You already like it. We saw the ratings. They're doing great. So thank you very much for being a part of the new show that is my lead-in show, Mark Lee Van Camp and Robbins. But this is a tough subject where I would like to hear from someone who has a little more experience in this world, and my next guest is going to do that for us. George Reister's on the James Show. Now, he's a former NFL player. He's now on the NFL Behavioral Health Committee, and he also has a nice podcast. You can find him at unafraidshow.com. Welcome to the show, George Reister. Yeah, I wish I was meeting you under better circumstances, but when I bring you on here, the first thing I want to ask you is, what resources do we know of that the NFL makes available for mental health issues? Because, it's been rare, but it's been there, the Junior Seaus, the Hernandez, and, every once in a while you have issues like this. What does the NFL do for that? I don't know what we do about the stigma that comes with mental health, though, because it's the same thing that stops people in the workplace from getting help, same thing that stops soldiers and policemen and firemen from getting help. The second you walk in and admit that you have a problem, people are going to see you differently. And I don't know what the answer is for that, George. I appreciate you helping us try and understand some of this. Tell me about, I haven't heard of your show before, The Unafraid Show at unafraidshow.com. Is that the podcast I need to look up more stuff on? Right. From the outside world, you're a raging success. How could a guy like you be depressed? Same thing we're thinking about Marshawn Nealon right now. He's on top of the world. How on earth could a guy like that be depressed? And I think the takeaway we're getting from a lot of our guests and callers today is if you're feeling any way like this, ask for help. Thank you very much, George Reister. Find him on unafraidshow.com. Appreciate your time. It's nice to meet you, sir. All right, unafraidshow.com. 800-288-9227. More on the Cowboys suicide and depression next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. It's a tough day here in North Texas on the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. Dallas Cowboy passed away. We lost him to suicide overnight. Mental health is now the discussion of the day, and rightfully so. And first off, one of the reasons this hits me so hard, if you were watching on the video feed, I got my Cowboy shirt on today. You know, it's a weird thing, this fandom that we have, because for most of us, we were born into it. We were born around here, and the Cowboys are the closest team, and it was easy to be a fan because they were America's team when we were growing up. Maybe they hadn't done squat in the last 30 years, but, you know, you don't know these guys. You don't know them personally, but you cheer for them. You wish the best for them. And we also make a whole lot of assumptions, like how great it must be to be a Dallas Cowboy. How awesome is your life? Boy, I'd like to trade places with that guy. And then you get a sobering story like this, and that just throws cold water over this. Is it not great being a Cowboy? Is it not awesome being a millionaire and having the body of an Adonis and being young and healthy and famous? No, that's just how strong depression can be. And so I don't know how much of this is just raw depression or how much of this is depression that was exaggerated and inflamed by repeated concussions or CTE or whatever. And I'm not even trying to throw any blame or throw any gas on anybody's fire here. I'm just trying to understand what the heck's going on. And we've been getting a lot of calls from people who make me double down on the fact that I really don't know what's going on in the head of a depressed person. I really don't know. It must really be bad if you can have all this going for you, all this in front of yourself, all these resources, the things that most people seem to want: fame, fortune, prestige. That doesn't make you happy? Well, apparently not. Apparently it takes a little bit more than that. And so now there's a bunch of moms and dads out there, myself included, who want to find out more answers about this. Because if it is CTE, if it is getting your head banged around even though you're wearing a helmet for 10 years straight, maybe moms and dads are going to be a little more hesitant about letting your son play football. Or maybe you'll just let your son play football in high school, but if he wants to go into college, you can say, listen, bro, you're not going to go pro and you're not going to get a scholarship. Just stop banging your head. Now, I may be getting ahead of the situation here because we don't know the full situation of his mental health, his concussion, his CTE, if he even had it. But I'm trying to put these jigsaw puzzle pieces together, and they're just not fitting. I saw a guy who was living his dream in the NFL, being the rare defensive tackle to score a touchdown. You know how rare it is for a defensive tackle to even touch the football or have possession of a football in his entire career. Here this guy is in his second year, and he's in prime time on Monday Night Football in Cowboy Stadium in a home game with the star on his helmet. Has one of the greatest moments boys dream of.
O'Donnell has it blocked into the end zone in a race. And a touchdown. Sam Williams blocked it. Nealon, the touchdown.
I remember, because I was watching that game over at my friend's house, I remember saying this is the greatest day of his life. This is the day that he's going to tell his grandkids about. I'm not just saying that for emotional effect on my radio show. I literally said that Monday night. Boy, was I stupid. Was I naive? Becky in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP.
Hi, how are you? I just wanted to say it's important to look at your medicines. I don't know if that was his case, but there was one time for me not too long ago, I was on the GLP injection and I started having thoughts of suicide, and I said, this isn't me. And I quit the medicine and it stopped. I was thinking about Freddie Prinze. This was years ago, I guess maybe in the 70s, I don't know, but he killed himself. He had depression, but they blamed it on the medicine. The family had I think $1 million lawsuit and won.
So I just want to make sure that people are aware of really looking at your medicines, and hopefully if that could prevent something.
Yeah, you hear about these people who get on the medicine, they start feeling better, so they stop taking the medicine because they're feeling better, and then what do you know? They don't feel better anymore. And uh, I hear people do that with like their blood pressure medication or their depression medication or whatever. It's just I really got to admit to myself, I just don't understand a lot of what's going on in their head. Now, you seem to just spell it out pretty easy. Are you on medication? Are you having some of these issues?
No, I'm not. No, I'm saying I was on the GLP, or what people call the shot, to lose weight.
But you just had to quit the shot and you're fine. You didn't have to get on medication or anything like that.
But I'm saying the medicine can have that effect on you, and you just don't even know it.
Understandable. Well, thanks for sharing your story, Becky in Fort Worth.
Okay, thank you.
Coming up next on The James Show, I'm going to replay the audio from the Frisco police scanner on the final few moments here. It's kind of raw. It's kind of abrasive, but it's a very human, very adult understanding of the terrible tragedy that happened last night as a Dallas Cowboy was lost to suicide just up the tollway. 800-288-9227 if you want to share any advice or your experience with this. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, we're just trying to figure out what could cause a Dallas Cowboy to be so depressed that he would do what he did last night. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You're home for Mark Lee Van Camp and Robbins. There's some funny, fun guys. If you need to be in a better mood, they can certainly help you with that. Check them out. They're on before me on 11 to 2 on WBAP. My next guest is a semi-regular on the James Show. Lee Richardson from the Brain Performance Center over there by the airport. Think about you every time I drive by now. But Lee, when you see a story like this guy had a mental health episode, it sounds like. He's had some mental health issues before. He ended his life last night. This sounds so illogical to those of us who aren't adjacent or had depression. Because, how could you be depressed? You're a Dallas Cowboy. You just scored a touchdown. You're a millionaire. You're famous. You have the body of an athlete. Explain to the rest of us how someone even in that prestigious and awesome lifestyle could be depressed. I guess so. Now, when you see this, is this something that could be just regular old run-of-the-mill depression? Or is this maybe, I know this is baseless speculation, but that's all we have to work with right now. Is this regular depression that could have been inflamed by concussions and the repeated blows to the head and the CTE issues that have been plaguing the NFL? Do we even know if that's playing into it yet? Oh, totally agree. Well, one of the takeaways from talking to other guests and people who've called in is if you're having any sort of issue about this, ignore the stigma about getting help for your mental health and get some help. Agreed. All right, Lee Richardson, if someone needs help, where do they start? Lee Richardson, thank you for your help on the James Show. Appreciate it. You can find her work at the Brain Performance Center here locally. Let's jump back to the phones, shall we? Joanna in Sherman, you're on WBAP.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I agree with Lee that being a football player, it does make things a little bit more difficult and vulnerable. I have a son who plays for the SEC college football, and it's very difficult for him. not only physically but mentally. But the physical part about it can mess with your head too. Yeah, they've got fame, they've got money, they have friends and fame and all of that. But being hit all the time, every single day, being yelled at, it takes a toll on your body and on your mind. He explains it to me like it is like being in a mini car accident every single play. And after a while of being in constant pain every single day, and then of course being hit in your head, and then waking up to not being able to move, and then of course the emotional and the mental pressure of it, I can't see how that is. It helps with someone who is already problematic with depression. I think it would exacerbate it. So I feel for these professional athletes and these high-end athletes because we don't know what they're going through. Us laymen, we don't know what they're going through. Only they do. So when he comes to me and tells me that he's just having a hard time, I just tell him, I hear you, and I encourage him to talk to somebody if it gets to a certain point. That's all.
Joanna, a lot of guys like myself played football when we were in school, and you're right. After practice, half of us would have a headache because we just got banged up, and we figured, hey, that's normal. Yeah. But I didn't do it in college, much less the pros. So I don't know. Is there something wrong with me? Do I need to have my head checked? Is that why the show is so damn entertaining? Is that why?
Well, I love your show. I listen to your show all the time, but I just think it's a whole nother level once you hit college.
Yes,
And then,
agreed.
Of course, professional. I mean, my son, thankfully, he has the wherewithal to say, you know what, I love football, but I don't know if I'm going to. I don't know if I'm going to do this professionally. In fact, I don't want to do it professionally. I want to, be happy. Money is not everything.
Well, great story. I appreciate you calling in. That's Joanna in Sherman. We have a bunch of other great calls lined up. Trying to make sense of something that I don't know if I'll ever understand it. We lost the Dallas Cowboy to suicide last night. Mental health is the topic, and apparently depression is a lot more powerful than a lot of us have been considering lately. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, it's a tough day for the Cowboy Nation. We lost a Dallas Cowboy to suicide, of all things, overnight. This is super rare. And although you didn't know Marshawn Nealon, I didn't know Marshawn Nealon, someone in our orbit has been affected by depression. And I think most of us have actually had someone who's close to us commit suicide in a way that totally caught you off guard, didn't it? It's happened to me. Imagine it's happened to you. And I think this is just a sobering, cold water to the face, sort of the wake up that there may be someone in your orbit right now who is on the brink and you don't know it. Are you looking around at your coworkers? Everybody okay? You doing okay over there, other side of the glass? What about all the Garretts we have? Y'all doing okay? Anybody need to ask for help? Ask for help. So I have no great words of wisdom that can make you understand this. I don't understand it myself, but we can observe this, we can learn from it, and we can just try and do better for the people who are still with us. I haven't played this since the first hour. I want to play this again. This is a heavily edited piece of audio from the Frisco police scanner, and I just mostly edited out space and people repeating themselves and saying 10-4 and whatnot. But check out this. It's only about a minute and a half, but this final sequence, I mean, you have a guy who is scoring a touchdown on Monday Night Football, primetime in a home game with the star on his helmet, Cowboys Stadium. You think he's at the top of the world. 48 hours later, he's going through this.
We're talking to the girlfriend. She's trying to call his agent, but we're trying to get him to call him first. But she's saying he is armed and has a history of mental illness, and her quote was, "He will end it all."
Good copy. You probably run back to the car to get the gun.
If she calls him, we'll let you know.
All right, y'all do me a favor. Everybody stay with the buddy. Don't go looking alone. This guy is armed.
President, they just received a text from him, a group text from him saying goodbye. They're concerned for his welfare. They do not have a key to the apartment.
David said my copy. I advised on this call. We were just out there. There's nobody at the apartment. I'll contact him by phone.
We have a lieutenant calling in from Plano advising that the NFL is calling Plano PD, and the subject is texting his family goodbye.
GPS 111, there's a porta potty on the south side of that building.
40, we got eyes on it. That's pretty much right exactly where 118 drew the circle. Y'all see a heat from that?
Yeah, 111. We got good eyes on. It looks like the door's open. Red liquid coming out from it. We just want to go ahead and work this safely before we have any officers approach. So let's just get an arrest team and kind of go through this safely and tactically. I believe we got eyes on a drone right there. Still got eyes on the target inside that porta potty.
We're pushing the drone there now.
Okay, good copy. Just on our last orbit, we didn't see any movement. Still got that heat signature. Looks like it's curled up at the bottom of that porta potty with the stream of blood coming from the porta potty.
Yeah, that's a 10-4. He's going to be laying on his side, facing inward, and quite a bit of blood coming out.
This is so hard to understand. He didn't have health problems, physical health problems, mental health problems, sure. But it's not like he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer that had metastasized to his bones and only has 4 months to live. It's not like his wife divorced him, his kids disowned him, and his family hates him. He hadn't even started the family process yet. It's not like he's broke and destitute, has no prospects for a decent standard of living in the future. He makes more money than 99.9% of us. It's not like he has a bad reputation. He has the greatest prestige North Texas has to offer. He's a Dallas Cowboy. And a guy that I thought was on top of the world Monday night when he got that touchdown. I didn't know that, 2 nights later, he'd be ending it all in a random porta potty off the tollway. That is a giant disparate set of expectations that have completely caught me off guard. 800-288-9227. This is Bridget in Carrollton. You're on WBAP. Hey, Bridget.
Hello. Trying to understand depression is hard even for people that have depression. Imagine you have a little voice sitting on your shoulder that's always talking in your ear. Nothing's ever good enough. Nothing's ever right. Whatever you do, you need to do it better because you're not doing it the way you need to. And it's always in your ear telling you bad things. You know, you're not good enough. You're not skinny enough. You're not big enough. It just keeps rolling in your head. I didn't deal with depression until I was in my 30s when my son was in Baghdad. And I had a full-on episode of depression. I couldn't get out of the bed. Me and my husband, we just built this brand new house that we wanted on a couple acres. He built a huge shop. We built a pond because I was going to get horses. Everything was great. And I couldn't even get out of the bed. So I lost my job. Our marriage was in crisis. But nobody knows what to do for you. You don't know what to do for you. Your spouse doesn't know what to do for you.
Bridget, how did you get better?
You go to the doctor. They give you medicine. But you have to do medicine for a couple weeks and see if it works. Then you try another medicine that doesn't work. So it's just, it can go on for months before you find a medicine that works for you.
God, that sounds so frustrating because this is a soft science. If you break a bone, the doctors can give you an x-ray, look at it. They can set the bone. Boom. That's how it's fixed. This is how all bones are fixed. There's no deviating from the course. But yeah, the thing you're describing, I've seen other people go through that. Yeah, they've gotten one depressant or antidepressant, and then they got another one. Then they tried Xanax, and they tried Buterol or whatever that stuff's called, and then
they've got all kinds.
Zoloft. And then sometimes it works, but then other parts of your body don't work, you know, kind of the marital ones, those kind of parts. And so then you're like, okay, well, do I need to take another pill for that? Or do I need to find an alternative pill so I don't have these other side effects in the first place? I understand that it can be daunting, you know, to actually go through the process of getting help. But it
took me years.
How do you convince someone to make the first step is what we're trying to figure out, I think.
Someone in the family has to help you get a doctor, take you to the doctor, because you're not going to do it on your own.
Okay. Listen to Bridget. Listen, because I don't want to hear it. I want to hear as few of these stories as humanly possible. Thank you, Bridget and Carrollton. Nothing but calls coming up next because we're just trying to figure out what we do about this going forward. How do you deal with depression in your orbit? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, sports fans. James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. There's a fun little thing I've noticed on Prize Picks when you're making your lineup. You can actually heal some of the pain from the Luka trade that happened earlier this year if you stick him in your lineup. Hey, look, the way Prize Picks works, it's daily fantasy sports. You don't go get in a fantasy league. You don't have to get like 5 other friends and y'all have to do a draft or anything. You just play by yourself. You and the players, and you can make a different lineup every day. You can make multiple lineups a day if you want, but you make a lineup of 2 to 6 players. And you know what you can do? You can have Luka, and you can have Cooper Flagg in your lineup. It's the ghost of Mavericks past and the ghost of Mavericks future. But you look at a stat, you pick more or less, you can win up to 2,000 times your money with Prize Picks. And look, if hockey's your thing, make your lineup with hockey players. If college football is your thing, they got soccer, they've got tennis, they've got some of these other things, MMA. Women play basketball apparently, and they have esports as well. And you can mix and match your lineup from all these different leagues and all these different players, and just have a blast with it. And if you're new to Prize Picks, you download Prize Picks app, you use promo code WBAP, you get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. So download Prize Picks. Use promo code WBAP. Take advantage of the $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I have a few minutes left with you here, and I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking. I'm going to let you do talking, do some talking here, because the topic of the day is we lost the Dallas Cowboy to suicide last night. Mental health is on all of our minds, and we're just trying to figure out, number one, understand this. Number two, how do we get less of it going forward? John and Richardson, you're on WBAP. Go.
Yeah, probably have a little bit more insight for you as a retired firefighter that made an attempt on his life back in April.
This year?
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell me about it.
Well, head traumas do play a big part of it. I'm now suffering with my 7th or 8th diagnosed concussion.
Is that from work?
So, yeah, I'm actually retired, but yeah, I was doing something, fell, busted my head, and I'm now getting more looked at for any type of brain massive degenerative.
So does this sound like where you were at in April? What he did last night?
Well, just about. You can have all the friends in the world, but when it actually comes down to it, you just feel lost. You feel like nobody wants you around. No one's going to listen to you. Everybody just kind of puts you on the back burner.
Okay, so are you doing better now?
I am doing better now.
How'd
yes.
you do that? How'd you get better?
Well, they put me in a psych ward for about a week and tested out meds and got me squared away there. I checked myself out and went directly to my primary care to continue on with the meds. And now with this new concussion, I'm looking into psychology and neurology help to make sure that that doesn't happen again.
All right. Well, don't quit. Stay with it, John. I appreciate you sharing your story. That must have been tough. Let's do Rebecca in Fort Worth. You're on WBAP.
Hi, James. Boy, I have so much to say on this. I've struggled with depression practically most of my life. I'm a veteran. I started to get depressed after I got out of the service. I wasn't in a war, in a battle, but I did start suffering with depression. And 45 years later, I found out that I was exposed to Agent Orange. So I don't know if that had something to do with it or not. But I do want to say there's two issues that probably most people don't understand with depression is frequency and severity. And severity, I do not believe, in my personal experience and all the people that I have known, and myself even being checked into the VA, you don't just wake up one day and a week later kill yourself or commit suicide unless it's a trauma or something like that. But it's a long, ongoing process where you eventually lose hope. When you have depression, you have self-talk, and eventually you feel defeated because you think, well, I should be able to get over this. I should be able to take some vitamins, some meds, and maybe those meds don't work. You talk to your friends, that doesn't work. And then you start into the more serious conversations of what's wrong with me, why can't I fix this, why am I not happy when other people are, and you can't understand it. And so my conclusion is that for most people with depression, it's a chemical, a brain chemical insufficiency somewhere.
Right.
And it is physical.
Well, listen, I'm about out of time. Do you agree with the general tenor? If someone else is going through this, the number one thing you need to do is ask for help?
Absolutely. And you have to keep fighting because there is hope. There's not one thing for each person. You have to, it's individual. And then when you find a bit of hope, then you keep with that. You keep going. But I do want to say,
one thing that, and no disrespect to you, but you've got to understand that depression is a physical thing. You are separating the mind from the body, and it's not separated. And so you wouldn't say to someone, if they had a heart condition, well, why don't you just sit on the sofa and think about it and get up and, go see your friends? Or if you had kidney stones and you're in a lot of pain, just say, well, I don't see why you're so depressed or in pain. Why don't you just, think those problems away? Why
and I don't
can't you
take
get
that
over it?
as an insult. You're right. I do not understand it because I can control my brain. I can put myself in a good mood when I'm in a bad mood or vice versa. And I think that's the first thing that the rest of us need to do is we don't understand it. And it's going to take more than just, hey, snap out of it, or here, you just need to cheer up, or let's go out drinking after work. That'll fix it. No, that works for me and you, but that doesn't work for everybody. And I don't want to see any more of these tollway incidents like this, or any more than we absolutely is necessary, because I'd like to get that number down to 0. It's been a tough show, but I appreciate you sticking with me through it. Come back tomorrow. We'll be a little more lighthearted, and we'll do comedy and fun and name that artist and all kinds of good stuff. But just look for the people in your orbit who are going through something similar. Just be a little more conscious of it today. That's all you can do. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. This has been The James Show on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.